But eventually, I'm assuming we will get a Volcker rule. We and many others have already largely or completely eliminated the fund activity that is prohibited by the Volcker rule. We think we have largely eliminated the proprietary trading activity that is prohibited by the Volcker rule. But since only Mr. Volcker knows what the rule prohibits, and we have not yet had an opportunity to invite him in to look at our activities, we can't be sure. But those have been significant efforts on our part and on the part of others. So bottom line here is that Dodd-Frank, as well as some core economic activities, have had significant impacts on institutions. Certainly in ours, they've made us helped reinforce our decision to become smaller and more focused, and to understand ourselves better and prepare for a resolution that we hope will never be needed. Thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker is Anna Galpern.
Thank you very much, Jerry, and I'm very grateful to Art Wilmarth and John Buckman and Seeley for including me in this incredibly impressive group. So I'm the only non-practitioner on this panel, and therefore, by definition, my comparative advantage is not to share with you the latest, but rather, I think, to step back and think about the broader context. And also, since my perspective is not really US-based, most of what I write about is international. I think a lot more about Japan, Korea, Spain, Argentina than US, UK, although that too. So take a step back and think about the broader international context and to be skeptical. Although with all the skepticism, I must say, I am in absolute awe, and I genuinely mean it, of the optimism and persistence of both the regulators and the financial institutions involved in going forward with this incredibly daunting task of regulating and thinking about the failure of the global systemically important financial institutions. So I will start with some general thoughts, and then I will touch on some of the issues that some of my colleagues have touched on, including the FSB principles for effective cross-border resolution and some of the bilateral efforts, such as the FDIC's cooperation with the Bank of England. So my first general thought is that this is not a new problem, right? I think that every crisis, and really my perspective comes from the Asian financial crisis, the Latin American crisis, which of course was also a banking crisis in the US. Every crisis discovers a vision failure, right? We hadn't thought about this. And I think what we should ask ourselves is, what is it that we're not thinking about now? And what cognitive, behavioral, what is it in our heads that made this inconceivable, right? I mean, after all, we've seen large economies failing with systemic financial crises in the late 1990s.